what's happening in the world of tech and beyond? The news cycle is moving faster than ever, and staying on top of it all can feel like a race against time. But don't worry, because you're locked into the Google Trends Hub, where we break down the biggest stories you need to know right now. We've got massive court rulings, cybersecurity shakeups, widespread service disruptions, and significant regulatory actions. Let's get into it. First up, we're heading to the courts where a landmark ruling has just been handed down that could reshape the digital landscape. A major antitrust lawsuit has been making waves for years, and the latest verdict is in. While the tech giant won't be split up, the implications for data sharing and competition are huge. We'll break down exactly what this means for the future of online services and how it impacts the data you share every day. Then, we're shifting gears to the critical world of cybersecurity. A storm of headlines suggested a widespread warning was issued to millions of users about an imminent digital threat. But was it real? Google itself has stepped in to debunk some of the most alarming claims. We'll cut through the noise to tell you what actually happened, what the real risks are, and how you can stay protected in an increasingly complex digital environment. Plus, we've got reports of major global outages affecting millions, hitting services we all rely on. And finally, we're looking at the regulatory front lines, where significant fines are being levied for data privacy violations. A major player in the digital space has been hit with a substantial penalty for cookie consent issues, with ripple effects felt across the industry. We'll explore the details of this ruling and what it means for your privacy online. Stick around for all these stories and more. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. A digital landscape reshaped. In a major antitrust lawsuit that has been unfolding for 5 years, a significant ruling has emerged from a U.S. court concerning a tech giant's operations. While the parent company, Alphabet, will not face a structural breakup, nor will its browser Chrome or operating system Android be mandated for sale, the court's decision introduces new directives for data sharing. Specifically, the IT giant will be required to share data from its search engine with competitors. This ruling, while not a complete dismantling of the company's structure, offers a new dynamic in the competition for online services and data. Commentators are closely examining the ramifications, particularly for Europe's digital policy, and how this might influence future regulatory approaches in the global tech arena. The most promising aspect of the sanction, according to El Hecho, is the mandate for Google to grant access to the billions of search requests processed by its search engine and its generative AI, Gemini. This data trove is seen as a valuable resource for competitors to train their own AI models and develop viable alternatives to Google's established services, highlighting the ongoing struggle to foster genuine competition against powerful tech monopolies. However, there's a prevailing sentiment that even in Europe, big tech companies may not face stringent regulation. TAS suggests that the shadow of potential trade disputes and tariff escalations, initiated by political figures, could influence regulatory decisions. This fear of economic repercussions, it argues, might lead to a reluctance to implement robust rules, a stance that could prove detrimental given the accelerating advancements in artificial intelligence. The Frankfurter Rundschau emphasizes that Europe must not be intimidated by such threats when it comes to setting its own digital policies. Citing examples where appeasement failed to prevent punitive tariffs, the publication urges Brussels to enforce European law and penalize Google, thereby sending a clear message to Washington about Europe's commitment to its own regulatory framework and independence in shaping its digital future. Stay with us as we unpack the full impact of this decision. Next, we dive into a cybersecurity claim that has the internet buzzing. Cybersecurity clarification, separating fact from fiction. In the constantly evolving landscape of cybersecurity, sensational headlines can often create a sense of alarm that may not always align with the reality of the situation. This week, Google itself stepped forward to address and debunk a widely circulated claim regarding its services, specifically concerning Gmail users and a supposed major security issue. Google emphatically stated in a blog post that several inaccurate claims had surfaced, incorrectly asserting that a broad warning had been issued to all Gmail users about an imminent and significant security vulnerability. This statement was unequivocally declared as false. While the blog post aimed to correct misinformation without amplifying the specific false claim, the nature of the rumor strongly suggests it pertains to an alleged warning sent to 2.5 billion users about a recent attack on Google's systems. The challenge in debunking such falsehoods lies in their partial grounding in truth. In this instance, there was indeed an attack on Google's systems, carried out in June by a group identified as UNC 6040, also known as Shiny Hunters. This group typically targets companies utilizing Salesforce enterprise software by employing voice phishing tactics. They impersonate IT staff to trick employees into entering their credentials on a fraudulent web page, which then grants them access to Salesforce accounts and allows for the exfiltration of sensitive data. According to Google's blog post, the data compromised in this incident was limited to basic and largely publicly available business information, such as company names and contact details. Google confirmed that all affected users were notified by August 8. However, the narrative that gained traction suggested that this compromise put 2.5 billion users at risk of phishing attacks, prompting an emergency warning from Google, a claim the company refutes. Google maintains that despite the system attack, the vast majority of its users are not facing an elevated risk compared to their previous security posture. The company reiterated its robust security measures, stating that its protections continue to block over 99.9% of phishing and malware attempts from reaching users. The cybersecurity press is often criticized for its tendency towards sensationalism, but the publication of clickbait can ultimately be counterproductive, leading to user desensitization and making it harder for legitimate security alerts to be heard. While Google users may not be in immediate, heightened danger, the necessity of maintaining basic cybersecurity hygiene remains paramount. As Google advises, potential attackers are perpetually seeking vulnerabilities, making it crucial for users to remain vigilant and implement practices that deter unauthorized access. Google encourages the adoption of secure password alternatives like passkeys and adherence to best practices for identifying and reporting phishing attempts to enhance overall digital safety. But the digital world isn't always secure. We've also seen widespread service disruptions. Up next, we're looking at major fines for data privacy violations. Global digital services disrupted. In a significant event that impacted millions of users worldwide, major Google services experienced widespread outages. The disruption affected a suite of popular platforms including Gmail, Google Search, YouTube, and Google Maps, leaving users unable to access these essential digital tools. The global nature of the outages meant that users across various regions encountered difficulties with their daily digital activities, from communication and information retrieval to entertainment and navigation. This incident highlights the critical reliance modern society places on these integrated online services and the far-reaching consequences when they fail. The sheer scale of the user base affected underscores the central role Google's ecosystem plays in both personal and professional lives. When services like Gmail, which handles billions of emails daily, or Google Search, the gateway to vast amounts of information, go offline, the impact is immediate and widespread. Similarly, disruptions to YouTube, a primary source of video content and entertainment, and Google Maps, a vital tool for navigation and local information, can significantly disrupt daily routines and operations. The cause of these widespread outages was not immediately detailed, but such large-scale failures often stem from complex technical issues, such as server malfunctions, network problems, or software glitches within the company's vast infrastructure. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in centralized digital platforms and the potential for cascading failures. While Google is known for its robust infrastructure and redundancy measures, no system is entirely immune to disruption. The recovery process for such widespread outages can be complex, involving extensive diagnostics and system-wide resets to restore functionality. The event also brings to the forefront discussions about the reliability and resilience of the digital services that underpin much of our modern world. As users experience the inconvenience and potential productivity losses associated with these outages, the focus inevitably shifts to the measures in place to prevent future occurrences and ensure greater stability for these essential online tools. The incident underscores the importance of reliable access to digital services and the significant impact that even temporary disruptions can have on a global scale, affecting communication, commerce, and daily life for millions. And speaking of disruptions, regulatory bodies are also taking action. Our final story looks at significant fines for data privacy violations. Data privacy fines and compliance mandates. In a significant regulatory action, France's Data Protection Authority, the National Commission on Informatics and Liberty, CNIL, has imposed substantial fines on major tech entities for violations related to cookie consent. Google has been fined $379 million, €325 million, while Chinese e-commerce giant Shein received a penalty of $175 million, €150 million, for their non-compliance with cookie regulations. The core of the violation, as stated by the CNIL, involved both companies placing advertising cookies on users' browsers without first obtaining explicit consent. This practice directly contravenes established data protection principles designed to give individuals control over their personal data. The CNIL noted that when users created a Google account, they were guided towards selecting cookies associated with personalized advertisements, potentially at the expense of options for generic ads. Furthermore, users were reportedly not clearly informed that accepting cookies for advertising purposes was a prerequisite for accessing Google services. This lack of clear and informed consent renders the consent invalid under France's Data Protection Act. Even after Google introduced an option to refuse cookies in October 2023, the CNIL indicated that the issue of insufficient informed consent persisted. Adding to these concerns, Google has also been cited for integrating advertisements in the form of emails within the Promotions and Social tabs of Gmail. The CNIL asserts that displaying such ads requires explicit user consent, in accordance with the French Postal and Electronic Communications Code. This is not the first time such practices have drawn regulatory attention. French telecommunications operator Orange was previously fined €50 million for a similar issue of displaying ads between email messages without consent. Google has been given a 6-month timeframe to rectify its systems or face daily penalties of €100,000. This development in France occurs alongside a separate U.S. ruling where a jury found Google liable for violating user privacy by collecting data even after users opted out of web and app activity tracking. This U.S. case, stemming from a July 2020 class action lawsuit, resulted in an award of $425 million in compensatory damages. In related privacy news, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, FTC, announced a $10 million settlement with Disney over allegations of collecting children's personal data from YouTube videos without proper parental notification or consent, thereby violating the U.S. Children's Online Privacy Protection Rule, COPPA. Disney reportedly failed to correctly label some videos as made for kids, which allowed for data collection from children under 13 for targeted advertising. The settlement requires Disney to obtain parental consent before collecting such data and to implement a system for correctly tagging child-directed content. Additionally, the FTC is pursuing action against a Chinese robot toy maker, Apiter Technology, for allegedly allowing a third-party SDK to collect children's geolocation data without their knowledge or parental consent, also in violation of COPPA. And that wraps up our deep dives for today. But before you go, let's hit the highlights one last time. That's all the critical updates you need to know for now. We covered a major court ruling impacting Google's data sharing practices, debunked a widespread cybersecurity scare, detailed massive global outages affecting millions, and broke down significant fines for data privacy violations. Don't miss out on what's next. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications by ringing the bell, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and follow us on all social platforms for even more updates. We'll see you in the next one.